Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Sumukascha Yekadantascha Kapilo Gajakarnakaha. Lambodharascha Vikato Vignarajo Vinayakaha. Dhumaketur Ganadhyakshaha Phalachandro Gajananaha. Vakratundaha Surpakarno Herambaha Skandapurvajaha. Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Sasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopasantaye Yasyadvirada Vaktradhyaha Parishadhyaha Parasasam Vignam Vighanti Satatam Vishvaksenam Tamastraye Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Satchidananda Rupaya Krishnaya Aklishtakarine Namo Vedanta Vedhyaya Gurave Buddhi Sakshine Krishnadvaipaya Namyasam Sarvabhuta Hiteratam Vedabjabhaskaram Vande Samadhi Nilayam Munim Janmadhyasya Yataha Anvayat Yitaratascha Arteshu Abhignaha Swarat Tene Brahma Hridayaha Adikavaye Mukhyanti Yat Surayah Tejovari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatritri Sargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Darbha Prochida Kaitavotra Paramo Nirmatkaranam Satam Vedhyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayon Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Kimva Paraihi Isvaraha Sadhyaha Hrudi Avarudhyatehe Atra Krutibihi Susrushibihi Takshanat Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Palam Sukamukat Amrta Dravasam Yutam Pipata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasikaha Bhuvi Bhavukaha Yam Prabhajantam Anipetam Apetakratyam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravah Abhineduhu Tam Sarvabhuta Hridayam Munimanatosmi Yaha Svanubhavam Akilasukisaram Ekam Adhyatmadipam Adititirshatam Tamom Dhama Samsarinam Karunayaha Purana Guhyam Tam Vyasasunum Upayami Gurum Muninam Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Now, with Bhagavan's grace, we completed the first part of Skandam 4, Adhyayam 1 through 7, that describes the Daksha Yajnam, that also describes our very first forefathers, or the very first progenitors are really Swayambhuva Manu and Satarupa. We covered that, how from Brahma separated himself from himself, broke into two, divided himself into two. One was Swayambhuva Manu, the other was Satarupa, and they had, because their command was to go and procreate, to people the earth, as Brahma told them, go and people the earth. So then they had 5 children, Preyavrata, Vittanapada, 2 sons, Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. We saw that. We saw Devahuti was given in marriage to Kardama Prajapati and Kapila. They had, of course, different daughters, and also Kapila was a son, and we saw that in Skandam 3. The Kapilopadesam, Kapilopakyanam, the different names are used, but basically the teaching of Advaita Vidya, both the Paravidya as well as the Aparavidya. And Bhagavan taught, and the pathways prescribed by him, everything we saw in great detail. Great detail it is given in Skandam 3 towards the end. We covered that. Then in 4, Akuti was given in marriage to Ruchi Prajapati. These Prajapati are all also Manasika Putra from of Brahma, either came from Brahma's mind creation, because mind is the one that really creates, or from different parts of Brahma's body. And so Akuti was given in marriage to Ruchi Prajapati, and Yajna was born to them. So we saw the various lineage there, Devahuti and to Kardava Prajapati. Anusuya was born there, Arundhati who was given in marriage to Vasishtha, and of course Kapila was there. And then moving on very quickly, Anusuya was given in marriage to Atri. Some of the people we know, we heard more often. Then you also had, in that lineage came Anusuya and Atri to Kala and Marichi, where Kasipa Muni came from him. Current Kashmir has come from there. Kasipa lived there. And then Kasipa married Purnima, and one of the daughters was Devakulya, whom we call as Ganga, and that's the origin of Ganga. Then Atri and Anusuya, the Dattatreya Avataram took place there. We saw that briefly. Then the other daughters of Kardava Prajapati and Devahuti, just very briefly, Shraddha was married to Angiras, who's one of the people that we know there. The sons was Brihaspati. I'm just covering some of the familiar names that you heard about. And then Havirbuk was married to the Prajapati Pulastya, Saptarishi Pulastya, to whom Agastya was born, and Visravas was also born. Visravas was Ravana's father, okay? And Visravas also had my wife Kekasi, to whom Vibhishana, Ravana, and Kumbhakarna were born. And another wife he had was Idai Padai, to whom Kubera was born, okay? And so Visravas was Ravana's father, and then Agastya, they were the sons of Pulastya. Okay, Pulastya was married to Havirbuk. Havirbuk was a daughter of Kardava Prajapati and Devahuti. And moving on very quickly, Arundhati was married to Vasishtha. Arundhati was the daughter of Devahuti and Kardava Prajapati. And that marriage, Arundhati was married to Vasishtha, and from there came Sakti, Muni Sakti, to him Parasarar, and Parasarar's son was Vyasar, Dvaipayana was Vyasar. So then Rishis were also born to them, to Arundhati and Vasishtha. Okay? Going through this very quickly for you. And then another daughter of Devahuti and Kardava Prajapati was Khyati. Khyati was married to Bhrigu. Bhrigu Muni that you all know. You heard about that. To him, they were born Sukracharya, whom you heard about in Mahabali's avatar, in Vamana Avataram. Also Markandeya was born in that lineage, and so was Lakshmi Devi, who married Sriman Narayana later. That's another story that you will see. So in that lineage came Markandeya. So how you see how things came from Swayambhu, Manu, and Shatarupa. In this case, we talked about Kardava Prajapati and Devahuti. Then Kapila Muni, that Avataram took place. We covered that. Then the third daughter, Prasuti. Prasuti was married to Daksha Prajapati. And she had 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 daughters. And out of 16 daughters, 13 were given marriage to Dharma. And then from there, different progenies took place, which basically are qualities that we have. And to give you an example, what I mean by that, Subham, Prasadam, Abhayam, Sukham, all these things, came from there. And then the 14th and 15th daughters were, the daughters were called Swaha and Svadha. And those are the Agni Devadehas. Swaha was the Agni Deha, the 3 types of Agni that we even today, when we do Yagam and Homam and Puja and all that is there. And Svadha is the Devadai that carries our offerings to our Pitrukar. Those your husbands and in your house, fathers, or what we do, the Tarpanam. You will see that Svadha Namastarpayami, that number, that mantram you would have heard, you may have heard, that Svadha is Prasuti and Daksha Prajapati's daughter. and Devate. And then Sati Devi was there, and Sati Devi married Rudra, and that is what the and Sati was in marriage to Rudra. Okay. Now and Rudra and Daksha Prajapati was made the chief Prajapati Patihi, as we saw last class. The Brahma, he was a son of Brahma. Okay. And then he was given the foremost place, the first among equals among all the Prajapatis. So he got heavyweight, and the Rudra was, going around the way he was, always living in Smasanam and all that. So Kapila, the Daksha Prajapati never respected him. Then he did a yagam called Brihaspati Savam, and he actually humiliated Sivabrahman Rudra. And his wife Sati Devi, who was actually Daksha's daughter, told him that what he did was very wrong, and only two choices are there: either she can walk out or she can give up her life and point out the mistake that he made. And so she basically gave up her life, and in return, as a consequence of that, Rudra sent Veerabhadra, another form of Rudra and Shiva, along with the army, that they stopped the yagam from proceeding, and the details that we covered that. And then all the people present there, everybody prayed to Rudra. At that time, from the Yagasala, Srimad Narayana gave a darshan, that also we covered. Then we went through the various stutikal. Everyone prayed to Srimad Narayana, and he finally said, the basic point was, everybody was saying, please, you are the Yajna Purusha, you created this yagam so that people can learn, practice the attitude of sacrifice without feeling egoistic. So you cannot stop that. Please allow this to be continued and fulfilled. And in that process, Daksha also learned this lesson. And then Bhagavan says, that one I quickly read for you, the final one when Bhagavan spoke. He said, I am known as the supreme cause of the world, the soul, the ruler, the witness of everything, the self-effulgent being, an attributeless Brahman, the absolute. In truth, I am both Brahma and also Rudra. And then he said, I assume different names like Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, appropriate for the creation, preservation, and destruction of the universe, which I perform by assuming my Yoga Maya. It is God through the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. In me, the all-comprehending and all-pervading self, known as Brahman, the ignorant man sees Brahma, Rudra, and other entities as different. But just as a man will not consider the members of his body, like the head and the limbs, as different from himself, or only parts of himself, so does one who has taken refuge in me sees all beings as part of me. He attains eternal peace who does not perceive any difference between the three, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara, who are one in nature and who pervades all beings. Very important teaching again. Swami repeatedly teaches this, okay? In Ramavataram, everywhere you see the same teaching. Then the yagam was concluded, the Daksha having learned this lesson beautifully, and then Maitreya says at the end, Sati Devi, who gave up her body, was born again as a daughter of Himavan and Mena, and that is what we heard. And then he concludes, Maitreya now concludes that portion of the story by saying, whoever hears this story with attention, with faith, and with fortitude, determination, whoever shares this decline story, such a sacred story, this one, okay, and the sport, the Leela of Parameswara, and then that person is conferred with fame, longevity, and freedom from all sin. And whoever hears or recites this episode with devotion, that pure soul will bring about the liberation of himself and others. Up to that point we came. Very quickly, that's a summary. Now with Bhagavan's grace today, he will take up the next section in Adhyayam 4 is pertaining to, see, we saw the three daughters, quickly the lineage, how that came about. Now we're going to the sons. The eldest son is Uttanapada. So Uttanapada's lineage, that is his son was Dhruva. Next 5 adhyayangal, adhyayam 8 to adhyayam 12, is going to describe the Dhruva Charitram. In Bhagavatam, full of nectar and sweetness only. If I approach it the right way, and I have to train my mind to look into the sweetness in it, then it will immediately take you somewhere else. You cannot listen to it superficially. Okay, please. That requires a little bit of training and shraddha. Now, in that process, there are 5 stutigal that stand out in Bhagavatam. Kunti Stuti, Bhishma Stuti, Dhruva Stuti, Prahlada Stuti, and Prahlada Stuti, Dhruva Stuti, Kunti Stuti, Bhishma Stuti, and one more which is escaping my mind right now. So these are all extremely important Stutikal. And so that Dhruva Stuti is going to come in this section. That also we will partake with Bhagavan's grace when the right time comes. Now, before we get into the Pratipada Arthangal, which is we're going through Vyasa's teachings, and in my limited way, I try to give the meaning of those Samskrita Padangal in English, unfortunately, and the mother tongue is even better, but even there I have my limitations. So to be able to help partake the nectarine sweetness of Dhruva's story, it's better to cover that story in a concise manner. Okay? And that is what with Swami's grace we will do. As a thought occurred to me. So per his direction, we will proceed. And please stay behind if it goes beyond our allotted time. And my suggestion also would be just close your eyes and really partake the story. I heard this story first time when I was 5 years old. It has still stayed with me in such a strong manner. It's unbelievable story of Dhruva. Jihvagre vartate Lakshmi, Jihvagre mitra bandavaha, Jihvagre bandhana prapti, Jihvagre maranam dhruvam. Lakshmi Devi resides on the tip of the tongue. By the tongue are determined friends and relatives. The tongue can be the cause of bondage. The tongue can also lead to death. Bhagavan is going to read from a discourse that Bhagavan Swami gave in Kodaikanal in 1995. Generally, Swami addresses it to students. As a student, we are all students in the University of Bhagavan. With one speech, one can win kingdoms, wealth, and friends. One can develop relationships and even invite death with one speech. Words are crucial for profit and loss, repute and disrepute, joy and sorrow. When words are good, the result is good. Bad words produce bad results. Every man should discriminate between good and bad words, discriminate between good and bad words, control his speech, and use only appropriate words. Dharma and justice are the foundations of the universe. Dharma eva yato moolam, dharma eva mahat gunam. There is no foundation or virtue greater than dharma. The one who defined, practiced, and propagated dharma for the good of humanity was Emperor Manu. He had 2 sons. The first was Uttanapada and the second Priyavrata. Uttanapada had 2 wives, Suniti and Suruchi. Suniti's son was Dhruva and Uttama was Suruchi's son. These stories are very important for today's students. When students listen to inspiring accounts of pure souls, their tender hearts can be transformed. There are many changes in the world today. Human life itself is a series of changes, from infancy to adolescence, then to middle age, and to senility. An egg becomes a bird. A seed grows into a tree. These are all effects of change. Change is necessary not just in nature, but in humans also, especially in youth. What kind of change? Ideal transformation. To pride yourself on changing from a boy into an educated man is not ideal change. Ego is not a sign of true transformation. Education must result in the blossoming of humility and obedience. Humility is a jewel of students. Unfortunately, it cannot be found nowadays. In the days of the Bhagavatam, students developed human values, contemplated on divinity, and earned the vision of God. Dhruva was 5 years old and Uttama 4.5. Once both were playing in the garden. Their father, Uttanapada, was watching them indulgently and enjoying himself. After some time, Uttama became tired. He ran and sat in his father's lap. Uttanapada was extremely fond of Suruchi, the mother of Uttama. Suniti's son, Dhruva, also ran forward to do the same. Suddenly, Suruchi ran forward and flung Dhruva away from his father. As if that wasn't enough, she hurt his tender heart with harsh words. Dhruva, you may be the king's son, but not mine. Only a son born of me has a right to sit on the king's lap. If you want to sit on your father's lap, the only way is for you to take another birth as my son. This is your fate for being Suniti's son. In this manner, Suruchi unleashed arrow-like words at Dhruva. Dhruva walked back to his mother's palace. He entered and sat down silently in a corner. Tears were coursing down his cheeks. Some maids noticed his condition and informed Suniti. Even when asked by his mother, Dhruva sat quietly with a tear-stained face. Suniti came to know of the incident from her maid. She lamented her plight. Dhruva, you had the misfortune of being born to me. I am treated like a maid by everyone in the palace because the king favors the other queen. So how can my son get any respect? She told Dhruva, my son, pray to God and be born to Suruchi. Immediately Dhruva replied, I have no more interest in life after this insult. He blamed his stepmother for her selfishness. Suniti went close to him and stopped him. My son, we should not criticize or blame others. Why? Because the result of that blame accrues to us also. Your stepmother's words, despite being harsh, will result only in your good. Whatever anyone may say is for your good. Do not blame your stepmother. She has shown you the path of your destiny. Will any mother advise like this today? But Suniti was different. Her name was Suniti, meaning embodiment of virtue, Niti. She passed on those morals to her son also. Dhruva said, so what do you want me to do, mother? Suniti replied, son, no one can really help another. It is God alone who is the sole refuge of everyone. He alone can fulfill all your wishes. Go to the forest and seek Lord Narayana to achieve your desires. Are there such mothers today who send their 5-year-old sons to the forest for penance? She placed her hand on Dhruva's head as blessing and said, whether you are in the forest, city, village, mountains or sea, God is the only refuge of the forlorn. Instead of suffering in the palace, it is much better to delight in thoughts of God in the forest. Wherever you may be, I am not in a position to help you. God will take care of you. Don't think of the forest as a forest, but as God's abode. Go and seek him, my son. Dhruva accepted his mother's words as command. prostrated at his feet, and left immediately. A mere 5-year-old boy? He did not know what a forest was, the way leading there, how to pray, what pleases God, nothing. Yet, he did not pause to worry about these issues. I must follow my mother's command. I must undertake penance. I must achieve the Lord's vision. There was no thought in his mind besides this goal. By the power of Suniti's blessing, the divine sage Narada met Dhruva midway. Narada divined Dhruva's intentions. He asked the lad, "Where are you going in Dhruva? Are you going to play?" Dhruva said, "Yes, O divine sage, I am going to play with God." Narada asked, "Where is God?" Dhruva answered, "My mother told me to go to the forest and seek him." Narada exclaimed, "Oh, foolhardy child, don't you know that most renunciates and knowers of scriptures cannot attain the Lord even after centuries of penance? You are a child. You have no worldly experience. You don't know about God. How can an innocent, ignorant child like you achieve God? No, it is impossible." Dhruva replied, "Narada, age is not important to the Lord. My mother's blessing and my determination will take me to the goal." Narada tried to dissuade Dhruva by talking of discomfort, fear, and failure. There are many animals in the forest. Dangerous snakes will pursue you everywhere. Ghosts and evil spirits abound as well. You are accustomed to royal comfort, having no experience in the ways of the world. No. What you have determined is too much. But Dhruva was firm. "I will never return to the palace. My resolve is a divine one, not a wicked one. God dwells in a pure heart. A decision that emerges from my heart is therefore a divine decision. I will never give it up." Today's students have a glorious lesson to be learned from Dhruva. Strong determination is necessary for every achievement in life. Dhruva did not give heed to Narada's words. It is my mother's command. I should follow it even at the cost of my life and prove the value of a mother's word. I must and will succeed. As soldiers are the life of a fort, as a signature is the life of a promissory note. Similarly, truth is a life to a faculty of speech. I will never give up truth. Satyam nasti paro dharma. There is no dharma higher than truth. I am Manu's grandson, who was a great proponent of dharma. I must be the embodiment of Sathya and dharma. These were the lofty thoughts chasing each other in Dhruva's mind. Narada finally admitted defeat. He admired Dhruva's resolve and felt pity for him. He said, "Son, your determination and purity have deeply affected me. I'll come with you for a while." They went to the banks of river Yamuna. There, Narada instructed Dhruva, "Dear child, if one chants the name of the Lord with a purified mind, the Lord appears soon." They had a bath in Yamuna, and Narada whispered into the ear of Dhruva the great Dvadasi mantra, 12 syllables, Dvadasi mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. After Narada left, Dhruva found a shady part in the forest, fixed his feet, and began chanting the mantra. He chanted Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya without interruption. He forgot his body. However, because of his tender age, he felt hungry and thirsty at times. During the first month, he ate fruits fallen on the ground. In the second month, he ate only tubers and leaves. In the 3rd month, he subsisted on water. In the 4th month, he survived on air. His body was reduced to a skeleton. That is natural for the body. The body is born of food. It is called Annamaya Kosam, the sheath of food. Within the physical sheath of Annamaya Kosam or Pranamaya Kosam, the sheath of life, Manomaya Kosam, the sheath of mind, Vijnanamaya Kosam, the sheath of knowledge, and finally, Anandamaya Kosam, the sheath of bliss. Dhruva neglected only the Annamaya Kosam. He merged the name of the Lord with his Pranamaya Kosam. With inhalation and exhalation, he repeated, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Next, Manomaya Kosam. Dhruva clearly pictured in his mind the form of the Lord as described by Narada, which was imprinted in his heart. What is the inner meaning? He recited the Lord's name while picturing his form. And he pictured the Lord's form while reciting his name. Name and form. This became Dhruva's penance. The whole forest became hot due to Dhruva's one-pointedness. Sages dwelling there could not bear it. They were astonished that a 5-year-old boy could sustain such iron control over his mind. They tried to obstruct his concentration in manifold ways. They created snakes which circled his body. They sent wild animals and evil spirits to trouble Dhruva. But nothing could disturb him, much less harm him. Dhruva thought, my mother said that God is the refuge of the helpless, so the Lord will take care. I need not worry. What deep faith he had. When nothing could even distract Dhruva, the gods in heaven went to Narayana to intervene on Dhruva's behalf. Dhruva's eyes were closed. He didn't even want to look at the world. I do not desire anything belonging to this world, he had decided at the outset. This body is composed of the 5 elements. It is bound to collapse one day, but the indweller has neither birth nor death. That indweller is God. I have assumed this body for the sole purpose of seeing that indweller. Gradually, he became so weak that his voice was no longer audible. He repeated, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya in his mind. Finally, the Lord responded. Lord Narayana appeared in front of Dhruva. As the Lord came closer and closer, his effulgence intermingled with Dhruva's aura, and Dhruva was shone brighter and brighter. Suddenly, finding his heart empty of the Lord's form, Dhruva opened his eyes. He saw the Lord standing in front of him. Smilingly, Dhruva said, O Lord, so long you were in my heart. Now you are outside me. Are you trying to leave me? I won't allow it. Dhruva had recognized that what we outside is a reflection of our own hearts. If you feel that someone is bad, that bad is not in him, but only a reflection of your heart. Your own thoughts, both good and bad, appear to you outside as reflection, reaction, and resound. Even Lord Narayana was taken aback at Dhruva's ideal qualities. The Lord mused, how surprising that these eternal feelings have entered this young boy. He is enjoying the benefits of many past lives spent in the divine quest. Thinking thus, the Lord laughed within himself. Dhruva had lost his voice, but still he started extolling the Lord. He described all the 10 avatars of the Lord and his exploits. He gazed upon the Lord continuously without blinking. He held the Lord's lotus feet tightly. The Lord asked him, Child, what do you want? Dhruva could not produce any sound. Mentally, the Lord touched his cheeks with his conch, and fresh energy coursed through his body, restoring his speech. Then the Lord stood back, clenching his hands together. Dhruva approached the Lord closer and closer. The Lord asked him again, Dhruva, tell me what you desire. Dhruva was so enraptured that the Lord had to repeat the question many times. Finally, Dhruva said, Oh my Lord, why do you insist on drowning me in Maya? You knew where I was, what I was doing, and who I was praying to. Otherwise, you could not have come here. Knowing all this, don't you know what I desire? Of course you do. Dhruva was talking high philosophy, but God had read 2 books more on spirituality than Dhruva. Lord Narayana replied, Child, the thought that prompted your penance was a desire to sit in your father's lap. You put this thought into action by performing this penance, but it remains to be seen what your word will be. Clearly, what God was looking for. Manasekam, vachasyekam, karmanyekam, mahatmanam. Unity in thought, word, and deed is a mark of a great soul. You resolved upon a goal. You acted as per your resolve. Now I won't hear from you with mere lips. What do you seek? The Lord clarified. Dhruva replied, Dear Lord, in ignorance I desired my father's affection. Unable to bear an ordinary insult, I sought to sit in my father's lap and enjoy my rightful privileges as his son. I acted upon that resolve. Now that I have seen you, touched you, and talked to you, I want only you. I craved a drop of water and found divine nectar itself. I desired a piece of glass and found a diamond. The Lord smiled. Dhruva, by thought and deed you desired your father's proximity. But by word you desire only me. Your thought, word, and deed are not in harmony. However, note that the majority lies towards your initial desire. Hence, it is my command that you return to your father's kingdom and make your mother happy. Do you see how subtle, mysterious, and impeccable are the Lord's ways? The Lord did appear. He showered grace at the boy in manifold ways. But Dhruva's thought, word, and deed were not in harmony. For such a small fault, poor Dhruva lost to the Lord. Finally, Dhruva said, I offer everything to you, and left the decision to Narayana. The Lord said, Son, obey my command. Till now, you followed your mother's command. Now, I am your father, mother, and everything. There is no lasting happiness in the world. Janma dukkam, jara dukkam, jaya dukkam, punah punaha, antakale maha dukkam. Tasmat, jagrata, jagrata. Birth, old age, and death are full of sorrow. The final moments are most pathetic. So beware, beware. I'm sending you back so that you fulfill your initial resolution. You must return without hesitation, said the Lord. Having said this, the Lord waited for Dhruva's response. Dhruva said, It is your command and I will obey it. No matter what I may experience by leaving you and returning, no matter how disappointing, I will follow your command. Only after he made this promise, the Lord came forward and took Dhruva in his embrace. Holding him close, the Lord spoke endearingly to the young lad. Dhruva, for God to be earned by such a young boy as you, this has never happened in the world. There is an acute need for such boys and girls in the world today, truthful, obedient to parents, and devoted to God. There is no meaning in devising new social orders and principles. It is enough to merely change societies in this manner? No. Thoughts must change. Divine, novel, elevating feelings must be encouraged by students. The Lord continued, Dhruva, you have to teach much to the world about the glory of the divine name. Now I will enter you. A light emerged from the Lord and entered Dhruva. The boy, who was so frail for the past few months, was filled with energy and brightness. He jumped up and touched the Lord's feet. The Lord disappeared. The Lord's ethereal voice continued speaking to Dhruva. Dearest child, you must rule the world as an ideal emperor for many years yet. Your father is repentant. He looks forward to your return moment to moment. He has given up food and sleep and wants only you. Go back, go back, go back. After you complete the task of ruling the kingdom, I have set aside an exalted position for you. The Polaris star situated in the midst of the Saptarishis, the Dhruva Nakshatram, the sun and the moon, midst of the Saptarishis, the sun and the moon, shall henceforth be called the Dhruva Nakshatram. All celestial bodies circle the Dhruva Nakshatram. Even Polaris itself may change, but you will be eternal. You are an embodiment of immortality. Your life will be an expression of bliss. The Lord also promised that Dhruva would reach him at the end of his lifespan. Just look at how much grace overflowed to Dhruva when he agreed to follow the Lord's command. Dhruva obtained immortal fame, the Lord's constant presence within himself, and the Lord's love. Much, much more than what he originally desired. That is why it is not necessary to ask God for your desires. Just follow the Lord's command and his grace will overflow unasked. In this manner, Bhagavatam is full of devotion. But there is no one today with even 1,000th part of Dhruva's devotion and worship. The sanctity of Bhagavatam is unsurpassed because it contains the lives of such exalted souls. But people neglect the scripture and even cast wrong accusations on it. Bhagavatam is nothing but God's love from start to finish. But all cannot understand divine love. Some scholars' interpretation of Krishna's leelas are atrocious. At what age did Krishna play with the Gopikas? Krishna was a 5-year-old boy. At that age, is it possible to interact with Gopikas as commonly portrayed? Krishna went to Mathura when he was 5 years and 1 month old. And he never returned to Gokulam. Did you not play with your sisters when you were 5 years old? Can this be perceived as immoral? When Parikshit asked Sukha about Krishna's behavior, Sukha explained it to him in the same way. Sukha was a celibate, a perfect celibate delighted in Krishna's sports with the Gopikas. Isn't that surprising? Sukha said. Parikshit, do you see Krishna as God or as a man? If you consider him God, he cannot entertain such low feelings. These defects are really in you. You are your own faults outside you as reflection, reaction, and resound. Even if dirt approaches God, it will turn into purity. Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvavitam Gagana Sadrusam Tat Vam Asyadi Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Triguna Rahitam ever blissful, granting happiness, embodiment of wisdom, beyond duality, infinite as the sky, primordial, final goal, one, eternal, stainless, immovable, omnipresent witness, beyond feeling, devoid of the 3 gunas. Such is God. God is an ocean. The feelings and desires of devotees are streams. When both merge, the ocean remains the same, but the streams get purified. The ocean is never disturbed. Another example, if you mix 1 cup of milk in 10 cups of water, you decrease the value of milk. But when 1 cup of water is mixed with 10 cups of milk, the worthless water acquires the value of milk. Thus, when two entities merge, the purer and greater one lends its qualities to the other. God is beyond the 3 gunas. Will he behave like one trapped in gunas? Whatever thoughts anyone entertained towards Krishna, he was totally pure and unattached. It is true that the Gopikas related to the body of Krishna, but even that was not in any immoral sense. The Gopikas were pure and unsullied. The meaningless interpretation of scholars have stained people's perception of Bhagavatam. God is ever pure and selfless. These scholars cheat people when they look upon God as anything less than purity itself. The tender heart of Dhruva set an example for everyone. Dhruva started back for his father's kingdom. Uttanapada was informed. In great excitement, Uttanapada sat in a palanquin with Suniti and Surichi and Uttama and set out to welcome Dhruva. As Dhruva walked through the forest, he looked like a luminous star. He had so much brightness. He was only 5 years old. Skipping and jumping, he laughed in pure joy as he ran home. Uttanapada jumped down from his chariot and ran forward to embrace Dhruva. He lifted Dhruva in his arms and said, "Forgive my fault, son. To me, you are Narayana himself. Falling prey to attachment, I was unfair with you. I made your mother suffer in many ways." And Dhruva replied, "Who am I? Who are you? You are not the father. I am not the son. I am Narayana. You are Narayana. Everything is Narayana. Where is the question of pardon?" Speaking of unity of the Atma, Dhruva melted his father's heart. He taught Atma-vidya even to his father. Uttanapada said, "Enough time has been wasted already. Come now." He sat in the palanquin and took Dhruva on one thigh and Uttama on the other. In this manner, they reached the kingdom full of joy and excitement. Suniti witnessed the scene. She had been away from her husband and her son was in the forest. She had endured a lot of pain. She had spent the many months wondering, "I don't know what sins have brought upon me this suffering, the pain of separation from my husband and my son. Which women can live in this manner?" This Suniti, who had been submerged in despair, could not contain her joy and excitement on this day. She also took Dhruva in her arms and played with him joyously. Dhruva's penance had lasted 5 months. He came home when he was 5 years, 5 months old, and he was coronated as the emperor when he was only 6 years old. Uttanapada rightly realized that for one who has realized God, it was not a big task to rule over a kingdom. During the coronation, Uttama held the royal umbrella over Dhruva's head, while Uttanapada and his wife sat on either side of him. The parents felt, if our son so tender and young could achieve God's grace, why should we waste our time? Human life is not for enjoying wealth and comfort, but to reach God. Only then Uttanapada recognized the true meaning of the term Manuja, man. Manuja, Manu plus Ja, meaning child of Manu. All humans should behave like the children of Manu, embodying his characteristics. Manu always followed dharma. He defined justice for the good of humanity. The law followed in every court today is based on Manu's exposition. Thus, it is our duty to practice dharma as laid down by Manu. After Dhruva's coronation, that very day, his father and mother left for Skanda ashram to spend the remainder of their lives in solitude and meditation. Dhruva ruled for many years and won the love of his subjects by ensuring their happiness. He waited patiently for his merger with the Lord, recalling the Lord's promise. During his last moments, a chariot came from the Lord to take him. Dhruva told the charioteer, "Where do I need to go?" Why do I need to go when God is everywhere? He taught the supreme truth even to the charioteer sent by God. You expect me to go to God in this chariot? This is meaningless. God is here as He is everywhere. I will merge into Him now, he said. He sat down in the chariot and chanted, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The light in him merged into the Lord. Such sweet, blissful and dharmic stories are found nowhere except in the Bhagavatam. You heard the Lord telling sage Dhruva yesterday that even God's will, which we're going to cover the story later, that is about Priyavrata. Dhruva yesterday that even God's will pales before the power of devotion. God says, I will gladly accept defeat, but never let a devotee down. I'm a servant of my devotees. I wait day and night as a watchman in the prayer room of my devotee. Do you know why? My devotee could express any desire at any time. I want to be present to fulfill his slightest wish. I am the final authority everywhere except with my devotee. My devotee alone has the final say. Through his action, God has always demonstrated that there is no force greater than the power of devotion. What is bhakti, devotion? Bhagavat Anurakti. Bhagavat Anurakti. Attachment to God is bhakti. Within bhakti are contained bhukti, food, rakti, desire, yukti, cleverness, anurakti, attachment, love, virakti, detachment, and mukti, liberation. Where did the word bhakti originate? Man's primary need is food, bhukti. Sariramadhyam khalu dharma sadhanam. The body is a means for observing dharma and it needs food. Next, man needs rakti, desire. The third is yukti, worldly intelligence. It is necessary to know how to live in the world. Next comes anurakti. We must love all without distinction. These are followed by virakti and mukti. In all these words, the common syllable is kti. Bha from Bhagavan and kti from these words comes to form bhakti. Therefore, he who grants you bhukti, rakti, yukti, anurakti, virakti and mukti is God. Bhakti is not limited to performing worship, doing arati and so on. We must offer ourselves to God. We must hold on to prema in all situations. This is bhakti. Dhruva attained victory in every test. He was only 5 years old. Boys of that age enter our primary school in the first standard, meaning this first standard boy showed such great dedication. Where did Dhruva obtain such strength? He achieved everything with determination. We must achieve with determination also, achieve not only worldly desires but God Himself. We should not fear troubles and give up. Only then our devotion will be blessed with strength from God. For everything, pure love is the basis. A devotee approached Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and asked, Master, how can I see God? Ramakrishna replied, O madman, you cry for wife, children and wealth. All your grief is wasted. Cry for God instead. Then you will achieve His vision without a doubt. Therefore, we should not cry for worldly ends. Nara is water and Nayana means eyes. The Nara flowing from your Nayana must be offered to none other than Narayana. These are tears of joy. Only tears of joy, Ananda, not tears of misery, can transport us into the Anandamaya Kosam, the sheet of bliss. Everyone must go beyond the Annamaya Kosam, Pranamaya Kosam, Manomaya Kosam, and Vijnanamaya Kosam, and reach Anandamaya Kosam. You must try in all possible ways to achieve bliss. For everything, God's grace is the foundation. Become worthy of His grace. Om Shri Sai Ram. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Kayena Vacha Manasendriyaiva Buddhyatmana va Prakrutehe Sabhavat Karomi Yajat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanayeti Samarpayami. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Swasti Prajabhyaha Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahisaha Go Brahmanebhyaha Subhamastu Nityam Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.